Good evening, guys. John Soto. This is SotoCast. We're going to do a little bit of a different show today. I'm going to see how this goes. You let me know. Obviously, I'm going to keep giving it a try, but the first hurrah. Today, I want to review a year in review of the FBI under Kash Patel. Now, initially, when he was doing the podcast scene, I liked him. I think most people would say that they liked him. He was very fiery. He was obviously initially, I believe, he was a defense attorney for terrorists, and then he proceeded to be a prosecutor. And then so he is a lawyer. He has a legal mind. He has some, he definitely has conducted some sort of investigations. I don't believe in a law enforcement capacity, but he understands how these things go. And so, when he was talking about shutting down the Hoover Building, which, to his credit, he actually just said a few days ago that he is going to be moving everybody out of the Hoover Building. He said he was going to do it on day one, but that's kind of like a politician thing that everyone says. Day one, they're going to do X, Y, and Z. We all know what that means. It's going to be on the top of their priority, top of their agenda list. So he gets confirmed, I believe, February or end of February, early March 2025. And then, very slowly but surely, things just start to kind of like fall apart a bit. Now, I think part of the problem with that is that I don't think that systems like this can be fixed by an outsider. As somebody who understands like bureaucracy when it comes to like a law enforcement capacity, again, I can't get into the very specific things of what I do or have done, but you need to know the ins and outs of an administration of an apparatus before you can go in there and dismantle it, before you can go in there and rearrange everything that's been going on. You have to understand that he doesn't even know how people take days off. Like something as mundane as that. How does somebody call out? How does somebody, if somebody's injured, what's the protocol for that? If somebody has a use of force, what's the protocol for that? He doesn't understand the day-to-day of an agent in the FBI. And without knowing that, how can you enact massive sweeping change? You can come and say, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, okay, but here's how we're doing things. So if you want us to do that, you have to understand the initial position. And if you don't, it makes things very hard. And you're going to have to basically sit there at least for a year just to understand and get into the minutia of a day-to-day FBI agent and what they have to go through in order to get things done. So he gets confirmed, and he just, sits down. Bongino comes in. That ship is now sailed. And what starts happening? Like for the most part, everything kind of just stays quiet for a while. Epstein thing starts picking up, starts getting a lot of traction, starts getting a lot of eyes. It looks like him and Bongino, that famous interview where they say Epstein killed himself. It literally looks like a hostage situation. Hoover Building's not being shut down. Agents are not being dispersed from Washington. All the things that he said he was going to do on podcast after podcast after podcast are not being done. They're not even being talked about. So that's one thing, right? If it would be something where you would sit there and you would at least discuss it, you say, listen, yeah, I said, this is what I said. This is what I'm going to accomplish. This is what I want to get accomplished. Now sitting in the chair, I understand these are the hoops I got to jump through. I'm going to jump through them and we're going to get these things done. That's not exactly what happened. And then it was when Charlie Kirk was assassinated that it was just abundantly clear that he was in over his head. Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, I believe, September 10th, 2025. Check me on that date if I'm wrong. It doesn't really matter. And I believe it was that evening or early the next day, somewhere right in that time frame, he sends out an X post saying, we got him. Everybody goes crazy. This is like huge. The director of the FBI says, we got him. And then has to turn around and recant that a couple hours later. So we conducted an interview of him. He's not the guy. He's been released. That right there, that was the turning point for me when it came to Kash. That should never, ever, ever happen. You are the head of any agency, no matter what. You do not go out there and get ahead of the story. You don't do that. I mean, you are effectively like endangering people's lives. You are saying this guy's gone. Everybody in law enforcement, relax. We got him. Forget it. Call off the search. You could be helping the actual killer get away. You have other people's lives that are in jeopardy. Him doing that, I felt like was kind of glazed over. The media. That should have been like, I would have said you needed to resign. You need to resign. It is just such an apparent flub that is like 101. That is like lightweight stuff. You don't do that. Obviously, your investigators are going to come to you saying, this is the guy, blah, blah. And you, as the leader, as the head of the agency, you have to sit back, let this information run through, let them conduct their interview, let them do what they need to do. Let them come to their investigative conclusion. And then, you know what? Have somebody else cross-check it. Have somebody else go over it again. Have somebody else outside of you say, is this who we think it is? What are we doing here? Check the video. Recheck the video. And again, this is coming from somebody that, you know, in this capacity, I have quite a bit of experience. It's very easy to get out in front. When you're in an office, that's fine. When you're in the office, you guys can say, we got him, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. As long as it stays close-knit and you're in there and you have other people still vetting this information, still conducting the interviews, continuing the investigation, because guess what? Until you have a conviction, you don't have anything. So that was the biggest flub, I think, where it knocked off a ton of points on my part. I thought that was it. In my opinion, that was it. And then what ends up happening further with the Charlie Kirk assassination? FBI gets lucky. Somebody phones in a tip. That was that one. Luigi Mangione, that wasn't under Kash, but it was a similar incident where I just don't understand. Like, you know, in all of these incidents that they were talking about, there has been congressional hearings and there have been a lot of discussion that the FBI has been very weak and very slow on the uptake when it comes to the forensic metadata and analysis that they can do. We all know they can do, but supposedly they have been very slow in doing. Then, more recently, just a few weeks ago, you have the incident in Boston. You have the Boston shooting at the university, and they don't end up putting that together and linking that going along with the professor. I remember seeing this shooting. All they had was the back of a guy's head for like 3 days, which I thought was wild. Wild. You don't have any clear shot of this guy. You have all these resources. I know guys with a team of 2 that can, if somebody's hungry enough, we'll track you down, no matter where you go. It doesn't matter. I mean, you, especially if we have an incident location and exact time, we will find you. I mean, unless you're in like a rural, completely rural area, this is a major city. And you're telling me that there's no way to track this person down with like just sheer grit and investigative steps? And never mind the fact that you have all the tools, all the bells and whistles when it comes to like, you know, I'm sure this guy had a cell phone on him, you know, and like maybe some of the shit that they're doing isn't legal. If you go through the legal process and you have to figure out the phone number, you have to figure out, you know, you're talking about doing cell tower dumps. There's a lot of investigative steps that you can take when it comes to tracking somebody down. And when it comes to the state side, it's very arduous. It's very hard. A lot of DAs don't want to do it. The search warrants are very difficult to draft because the threshold that a lot of these judges on the local level is very high, which it should be. But when it comes to the federal government, FBI, I mean, you know, I would think they would just go through metadata like nothing. And you see it time and time again. Again, another flub. Again, somebody else calling this in. I was just looking at Tim Dillon, and he's absolutely right. This thing was solved by a homeless guy on a Reddit post. Charlie Kirk was a tipster. Luigi Manzione, tipster. Boston and the Professor in Boston. MIT, tipster. There's a common thread here. I don't know if anybody can pick it out. But it seems like the FBI has a massive, massive problem. I don't know if it's from within. I don't know if it's from the upper echelon. Again, because the Mangione case, that was under a different head. Trump was elected, but it was still under the old head of the FBI. I think they just need some hardcore investigators that have been, running the gamut in major cities and solving crimes to get into place there and to maybe, give these guys some experience and some pointers. That's what it seems like to me. I don't want to besmirch them. I'm sure there's some excellent investigators in the FBI. I'm sure they there are people that like what they're doing, love what they're doing, are good at what they're doing. But I've worked in many offices where if you don't have somebody to at least pick the brain of, and somebody with a little bit more experience than the person below them, there ends up being a gap where you just don't know how to take the next step. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to do these things. These investigations, they're not innate things that somebody would know how to do or why to do. It takes experience. It takes understanding of perpetrators, understanding of just casework in general. How are we going to solve this? How are we going to prosecute this? How are we going to get from A to B to C to D to E? How are we going to finish the loop and to finally get the bad guy that we're looking for? So, all in all, wrapping up the year with the FBI, they have had a couple of good things, but there has been a spotlight shown on them, and it doesn't look good, and it's kind of sad because you would want them to be good, you want them to be excellent, and I just don't see that right now. So I don't know if it's the Kash that needs to be replaced. I don't know if it's a complete overhaul that needs to happen. I don't know if they just need to bring some of these investigators. I'm sure there's some good ones out there, but maybe they need to be centralized and they need to be helping these guys on the ground to do these investigations. Because the things that I've seen, them walking through crime scenes, them flubbing on crime scenes, the Charlie Kirk thing was ridiculous. Like, I can't see how you don't hold that crime scene. How do you not hold that crime scene? I don't know. Guys, let me know what you think. Drop down in the comments. If you have subscribed, I have a bunch of new subscribers. Thank you very much. For all the new people, if you want to find me on X, 6283 Talk on the X, I am John Soto. This is John Soto Podcast. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Thank you so much.